Hello and welcome to Nice and Blunt. It's time for another live stream. It is Friday, August 2nd, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we will do a draft in just a moment. But first, let's hit that intro. Let us begin. All right, so before we head over to the lobby, there are some pieces of news that I want to hit, and I think I've scrolled down too far, but wait, no, Josh Jacobs. That's who I wanted to mention. Josh Jacobs is one of three players I just want to mention at the top of this video who is not practicing at the moment, dealing with a groin injury. I think he'll be okay, but not great to see. And I think all in all, he will remain just as valuable as where he's going, but it is something to keep in mind. I would expect his ADP to fall a little bit unless this gets resolved very soon. Other than that, there was also an injury to Justin Herbert right here. Justin Herbert diagnosed with a right foot injury, plantar fasciitis in his right foot, and he will be on a walking boot for the coming weeks, but he's expected to be ready for week 1. Not great news, especially in a new offense. Not ideal as someone who is very heavily invested in the Chargers wide receivers. Not happy to see that, but thankfully he should be available for week 1. It's going to be okay. I think he can play through a bit of pain. He's done that in the past. Just wish he was 100% going into the season. And other than that, there are several players that are worth mentioning, but no more worthwhile other than DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins sprained his knee and could miss 4 to 6 weeks. I'm not sure if this is 4 to 6 weeks starting from now or 4 to 6 weeks into the season. I think it's just from now. I'm pretty sure it's the next month, and there's 5 weeks before the season starts. So it looks like he's at least going to miss week 1, but with an injury like that at age 32, not something you want to see. I think it could derail him for a little bit. I would expect to see his ADP fall a decent amount, and obviously Calvin Ridley gets a boost, as well as Tyler Boyd. I think Boyd going super late, someone I've been drafting quite a bit on and off the live stream, is a good pick at the end of the draft. So those are the 3 players I wanted to mention. There's a few other guys that have had some news recently, but no one that I think is as important as those 3 players. So here we are in the lobby, and we're going to be hopping into a Dachshund draft. New tournament that was just released, $8 entry, and let's just review the rules before we hop in. You got to finish 2 out of 12 to make the playoffs. That's pretty typical. But then you're in a 5-seat group. You got to finish first. Then you advance to a 6-seat group where if you finish first, you enter the 156-seat final. And I think if I did my math correctly, based on the payouts, if you make the playoffs, you do not get any money back. But if you do advance past the first round, you turn $8 into $24. So that's the equivalent of 3 entries working out and getting that money back. And then it looks like you don't even need to finish first in that last 6-seat group to turn that $24 into $100. It looks like if you finish I want to say top 2 out of 6, you get $100. That's pretty decent. And then if you do advance to the final, you get $300. It moves up from there. First place takes home $30K. And if you get to 10th place, it's $3,000, moves up after that. So this is what we're going to do in today's live stream, an $8 Dachshund draft. If you want to join me, there is a slight delay. Hit that button right now. I'm on a 5-second delay. I will be joining you in 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's hop in. 2 spots left. 2 spots remaining before the draft kicks off. Now down to 1. We will not have to wait very long. So it is full. Hopefully you're in here with me if you want it to be. And we get pick 6. I'm very comfortable with pick 6. Getting an elite receiver, definitely my preferred strategy. I can always make it work with a later pick, but I've gotten so many late picks lately. Like, I feel like the last 10 drafts I've done, I've gotten picks 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like, nothing deviating from that. It's been a while, at least on the channel, I think. Maybe there was a pick 2 last week or on Monday or not too long ago, but for the most part, I've gotten really late picks, and I'm very satisfied with pick 6. Don't have to wait too long between selections. You can get good values. And at the top, we're in line at the moment for Amon-Ra St. Brown if ADPs do not change. So draft will be underway shortly. Very excited. With pick 6. Here we go. Oh, and this is a 20-second pick clock. So this draft will move very quickly. I might do 2 of these before the afternoon is over. We'll see how quickly this draft goes, but definitely going to do at least 1, maybe 2 on the live stream. But Lamb goes above McCaffrey. I think that's perfectly fine. If that's who you want, it is justified. I have been taking a bit more CMC at 1 lately, but that's just because I'm way more invested in Lamb. I've got Lamb at like 12, 13% because I take him at 1 a lot. And that might come back to haunt me. I think being underweight CMC, if he does not get injured, might be a bad move, but it'll be fine. It's definitely safer when you have to wait so long before you get another receiver in round 2. But Amon-Ra goes at pick 5, so we're getting Justin Jefferson here, and I'm very comfortable with Jefferson with no TJ Hawkinson. Going to see a massive target share with Sam Darnold. Darnold is vying for his career, so he would be very unwise not to send Jefferson a big bevy of targets. He was equally as good last season when healthy with Nick Mullins as he was with Kirk Cousins. There was a game with Josh Dobbs where he got hurt, but if you throw that game out, the stats don't dip at all. He was just as good with Mullins as he was with Cousins, and I think those numbers are going to repeat with Darnold. So happy to take him. And also, there's a scenario where with Addison's suspension looming, you could see a CeeDee Lamb type of volume here where there's just nobody else on the field other than Aaron Jones and Brandon Powell, the 3rd string receiver this year. And Jefferson could see like 14 targets per game if hypothetically Addison is suspended the first 3 weeks of the season. I think there will be some elite volume headed towards Jefferson this season. So he got hurt last year. I don't think that's going to repeat. It's just as likely to happen for anyone else. I like Jefferson a lot. He's my wide receiver 3 this season, and we get him at pick 6. Very happy with JJ. But after Jefferson, we see Bijan, Breece Hall, A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Jameer, Puka falls a little bit, Marvin Harrison, Jonathan Taylor, Deebo Samuel, Drake London. But Bobby Digital in the chat says, pants down, John Brown. I'm doing a BBM a little later. Last night I had Goff, Jameson Williams, Kittle, Ayuk, and Pearsall, and missed on Purdy with Snipe. I mean, you got really good bringbacks, really good Week 17 correlation. If you do make it to the chip, that game's going to fucking smash. So I like the Lions-Niners combo quite a bit. But here I am. I could go with Chris Olave, 1 pick past ADP, but not excited about Olave, honestly. And I think Ayuk's ADP has fallen too low. I'm still convinced he's a Niner. I think that contract will probably get settled in the coming week. I think he's a great pick in round 2. I've been taking Ayuk a lot with this discounted price. He's still my wide receiver 9 at the moment. I'm going to hold strong on that ranking. Barring an injury or a trade, I think he will smash his ADP. Going at pick 21, I take him here at number 19 to pair with Jefferson. But fight me. Good to see you, man. Let's go. Always good to see you in the live stream when I am doing these drafts as well. And take a look at the group chat on WhatsApp for the subscriber league. I'm trying to pin down when we're going to do our draft. If you're in the subscriber league and you're watching, whether it's right now or after the fact, I'm hoping to do the draft live streaming on YouTube Saturday morning, August 31st. If you are in the subscriber league group chat, go ahead and vote on what day works for you, and we will be drafting that weekend before week 1 kicks off. Very excited for the subscriber league right now. But Bobby Digital on the clock now in a slow draft. I have Tyreek Hill. My options for my second round pick are Olave, Waddle, or Devontae Smith. Could you make this pick for me? There's always reasons to go with the double stack in Waddle, but personally, I'm not a big believer in Tua this year. I know he just got paid, but that's not my favorite pick. It looks like Olave would have fallen to you, so I'm comfortable with Olave. I do have Olave ranked the highest. I would go Olave, but if I was going to pivot off of Olave, I think I would go with Devontae Smith, just because the world where Waddle is like an elite league winner is the world where Tyreek Hill goes down with injury. So when you already have Tyreek Hill, it kind of caps the upside for Waddle. Like you need just Tua to go off massively. Devontae could always be a top 10 option, but he needs A.J. Brown to get hurt. And I think A.J. Brown might be in line for more touchdowns than last season. I would go Olave. I think I would play it safe with Olave, take the ADP faller, who I do have ranked the highest. And looks like that's who you're going with. You're welcome, my friend. And good luck to you as well. I'm in a slow draft also. My pick is not on the clock, but I entered one of the last MMG leagues the other day. It was like 99.6% filled, and I was like, okay, I'll hop in before it's done. And I was very disappointed to find out it was a slow draft. I don't really love the slow drafts. They're fine, but when I already know what my rankings are, who I want to take, I don't want to have to wait 10 hours for somebody else to make their pick. Like, it's good to have one going in the background, but I just made another pick on that like an hour ago, and I probably won't make another pick for like 2 days. I'm at like the back end of the rotation. I got a long wait for my next pick. So they're fine. Sometimes they go by faster than typical, but sometimes they're just come to a grinding halt if someone is lazy. So not my favorite thing to do in a slow draft, but they're okay. I didn't plan on doing it, but here at pick 30 in round 3, I forgot to mention I took DK Metcalf, and he fell to me a few spots. I'm happy to take Metcalf, definitely my highest ranked receiver, and in a tier above everybody else that was taken after. So I was considering Derrick Henry there, but I don't think it was critical to go running back. It's interesting to see Pacheco rising steadily in these drafts. Pacheco now consistently going at the top of round 4. Can't really get him that late anymore, but big trio of receivers that I do trust a lot, but I didn't really want to go. We're going to take Amari Cooper. I've taken a lot of Pickens. I've taken a lot of Higgins lately, and Cooper got his contract settled. He is a faller in ADP. We get him 3 picks after the fact. So we're just set up for a lot of receiver production with these top 4 guys. And I was considering Lamar Jackson there, but with the 22nd pick clock, I went with Amari Cooper just to mix it up a little bit at receiver. I've Pickens ranked 1 spot higher, but with Justin Fields as the quarterback in training camp right now, the reps with Russell Wilson might not be as consistent. The chemistry might be a little shaky, because I do think Russ will be the starting quarterback in week 1. So I go Cooper, and he's definitely safe. Cooper, Pickens, T. Higgins, I think are all in the same tier. And it's really just a choose your own adventure. With the 3, you can go either which way, and they're all fine. But I would love if one of these tight ends fell to me. Granted, pick 1 goes with McBride and Kincaid at the turn. Don't see that too often. But I would expect Team 4 to snipe me on Andrews with Lamar Jackson. When you take Lamar and Andrews is back on the board, that's usually where to go. But no, pick 3 snipes him. Those tight ends are off the board. I wanted a tight end. Do not get one. And I don't love this range in the draft. Round 5 scares me, man. I do not love round 5 at all. I am just going to go with Anthony Richardson. I think that's by far and away the best pick here. I'm not in love with Terry, more of a floor play. Hollywood, if Rashee Rice gets suspended, is somewhat valuable, but kind of injury prone. Keenan, I prefer Rome quite a bit. Jaden Reed is interesting, but more of a floor play as well. Crowded offense. And while I definitely consider Calvin Ridley more of a value at the moment in round 5, I still think he's a little overpriced. And Hopkins is only set to miss 4 or 6 weeks starting today. So it's not like you're getting a month into the season where Hopkins is off the field. You're only going to get like 1 or 2 games without Hopkins most likely to start the season. So I'm just going to go with QB here, grab an elite option. Anthony Richardson is one of the few guys who can actually realistically finish as the QB1 next season. And I'm comfortable taking him here with all the tight ends and the running backs I was considering off the board. I would have probably gone Josh Jacobs if he was not sniped, and he was. So that's how this draft starts. 4 receivers and Anthony Richardson. I'll take it. But I'm probably in line for a running back here. If Kenneth Walker's still on the board, I'll probably go Walker. But if not, I think Kittle's very justified. It would open us up for a Brock Purdy combo later on with Ayuk. That's a pretty good stack. But Chris Godwin at the moment is falling. He would need to fall one more pick. I would take Chris Godwin if he's here. Just load up on 5 receivers I really trust. Given the news about Justin Herbert, I think I would swap McConkey and Godwin in my rankings. I'd probably prefer Godwin. But no, Godwin gets taken. We don't have a running back. It's not a bad investment, but I already have DK Metcalf. I'm going to go George Kittle. I'm going to take George Kittle. I'm kind of underweight on Kittle, and it feels like a bad call, especially when you look at George Kittle's profile. He's really ideal for the best ball scoring settings. Like, George Kittle is a spike week type of guy. Definitely can go over 15 fantasy points any given game. The volume is a little scary when he doesn't find the end zone. He can give you 3 catches for less than 3 points. Last season, there were 6 games where he scored under 4.5 fantasy points, but there were also 7 games where he scored over 13 fantasy points. So Kittle is that boom bust option, and he's definitely one of the better guys. If it wasn't for the volume concerns, I'd probably rank him in the top 5. I'd probably think he might be more valuable than McBride straight up. But having Ayuk, pairing him with Kittle, great stacking option later with Purdy. But even if we don't get Purdy, it's always good to invest in the Niners offense. We have Richardson. It's not going to be the end of the world if we're on the clock at 1:15 and Purdy got sniped. But it does open that door. I love the Brock Purdy value. Purdy's such a good pick in the 10th round. Last season, he was a top 6 quarterback, and because of the weapons he has, he's going to throw for at least 250, 3 touchdowns, like almost every single week. And sometimes he burns you, like that game against the Ravens last year. That one was bad. But for the most part, he's very consistent, very high floor, and he can put up 30 fantasy points any given game as well. So that's probably what I'm going to do. I get sniped on running back again, though. Damn. Maybe I should have gone running back. Now that we're in August, I don't know if it's just this room I'm in or the fact that there's more casuals coming in that we're not picking up on the trends of running backs falling, but maybe I'm a little slow to the party and maybe I regret passing on RB, but I'm not going to take Hopkins with the injury. I could go Evan Ingram, but that feels risky. We've gone with double running back in the past, and it has burned us. I'm going to go Najee Harris here. Going to take Najee, and I might look to pair him up with Jaylen Warren in round 8. But I definitely need running back. That's kind of critical. The values at receiver dried up. And with the risk of Hopkins at the moment, not excited at 78. I'd rather see him fall past pick 85. I feel like you could probably get Hopkins in round 8 or later if like everyone is aware of what's going on. There's going to be some lobbies in this tournament where Hopkins really falls. I saw him fall yesterday in some drafts like past pick 90. You could get a massive discount on Hopkins if everyone in the room decides to skip on him. So I take Najee. Upgraded offensive line. You know that Arthur Smith's going to run it a ton. Contract season for Najee. Normally, I do not reach on him, but given I need a high floor option at running back as my RB1, I think Najee is consistent, going to stay healthy. Most likely, he's never missed a game in his career. I doubt it would happen this season. So I'll take Najee and just hope that Arthur Smith does get him the ball a lot. He should be more efficient behind that O-line. I worry a little bit that pass catching role has gone away from him tremendously. Like, it's definitely Jaylen Warren on third down. Warren is more explosive, and the fact they didn't pick up Najee's fifth-year option, a little concerning, honestly. Just a decent red flag, but I'd rather invest in Pittsburgh's offense than the Patriots at the moment. And there's definitely some high upside. Najee usually scores a lot of touchdowns, but I'll probably pair him up with Jaylen Warren if he is on the board here. We'll see what happens. If not, I'll probably look at like Mostert. I guess I could go Zamir White. But I would prefer to have the Steelers double combo. And I get it. Let's go. Let's take Jaylen Warren. Locking up every RB fantasy point in the Steelers backfield. That feels like a combo I'm willing to invest in at ADP because their offense is just so narrow. Like, if the ball is not going to George Pickens and they're not giving it to Pat Freiermuth, like, I would expect possibly 65% of the overall volume in this offense to go to Najee and Jaylen because they're definitely going to be a run-first team. Arthur Smith was one of the highest usage rates at running back of all play callers last year, and that was in Atlanta, where he sent Bijan like 80 targets, I want to say. Like, Bijan got a massive workload. So Jalen's going to catch a shit ton of passes, but Najee is still the guy on first and second down. Najee should be the better option, not by a wide margin. Bijan had 86 targets last year. If you're telling me Jaylen Warren is going to get 80 plus targets, he is absolutely a good pick in round 8. I trust Jaylen Warren quite a bit. But Kelsey says hi. How you doing, pal? My first time with fantasy football. Awesome, bro. Excited. Hope I can help you out this season, give you some tips and pointers. Got rankings videos on the channel, and they will be updated probably in a week or so. I'm gonna let a little bit more of the training camp news sit and brew, but I don't want to overreact to any early news. But I also have some quarterback rankings I want to put out before I tweak all my rankings. But so far, I've got most of them out on the channel. You can check those out anytime you'd like. But happy to see you here in the chat, my friend. Excited you're a subscriber. Okay. We've got 1 QB, 2 running backs, 4 receivers, and a tight end. I think I'm going to pass on running back here. And I think I'm going to go with the falling ADP value on Courtland Sutton. I do like Josh Palmer here, but Palmer gets taken, so I will go with Courtland Sutton. Are you a bro? I assumed anyone who's subscribed to the channel is a brochacho of mine. So we go Cortland Sutton. Definitely in line for some volume. Very touchdown dependent. I'm a little scared of Sutton, honestly. Like last year, he was barely a top 30 wide receiver. Like on a per game basis, I think he was wide receiver 32. And he could mess up. But Judy's gone. I think he's still the wide receiver 1 by an overwhelming margin. And I do think Bo Nix is better than he gets credit for. But no women allowed. Women are absolutely allowed on the channel, but I've recently checked my stats. I have like a 99% male audience. So just from a statistic standpoint, it's a little unlikely that you are a woman watching this channel. That's just how it goes. It's not that they don't exist. I'm very happy to welcome any female to the audience, but I did make an assumption. That was my bad if I was incorrect. But brochacho, sí. Women are always welcome. The ladies are always welcome. Anyways, what are we going to do here? We mentioned Brock Purdy. Very good approach for this team. Anytime I see someone write "How dare you," I just envision Greta Thunberg with that "How dare you." Just like a ridiculous level of outrage. How dare you? Anyways, barring a snipage, we will go Brock Purdy. And this team goes Dobbs. Let's shore it up at QB. We're done. We got Anthony Richardson and Brock Purdy. We are set. We are living. A few picks past ADP as well on Purdy. The double stack with Kittle and Ayuk. If Debo goes down, I am living. I am all set. But we've ignored running back for quite a while. We got the Najee Jalen Warren combo, and I would love myself a Jerome Ford selection coming back around. But even if that doesn't happen, there's also some good other options. But that's another piece of news that's worth mentioning. Jerome Ford, who I'm heavily invested in, looks like he's going to smash because Deontay Foreman was carted off the practice field just yesterday. Deontay Foreman not going to play this season. The running back had to be immobilized and taken to a local hospital for further evaluation. Direct blow to the head, resulting in neck pain. Maybe he plays, but I think that's a very unlikely bet to happen. I think if you are trying to invest in a depth piece in the Browns offense, I think Pierre Strong would be the way to go. Pierre Strong looks like he's the guy behind Jerome Ford. Obviously, some people are getting more confident in Nick Chubb, but I am not a believer in Chubb, honestly. Like, I mix him every now and then, but there's no way I'm taking Chubb in a regular redraft season-long format because unless he's on IR, he's just plugging up your roster for a lot of time. So Ford in line for a lot of early season production, and I have taken him a shit ton. I'm happy to take him once again. Here at pick 126, our RB3 on this roster. So here's the team. We got Richardson, Brock Purdy at QB. Richardson is unstacked, but Purdy is stacked up with Ayuk and George Kittle. Very affordable stack. I love it. Ayuk is one of my favorite picks in the second round. I'm going all in on Ayuk. I'm not worried about the contract. I'm not worried about a trade. I think he will play out this season in San Francisco, and I think he gets elevated above Debo this year. But at running back, we got Najee, Jalen Warren, Jerome Ford, and my other receivers are Jefferson, Ayuk, as I mentioned, DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, Cortland Sutton. This is a pretty solid team. Running back's a little thin, but some high upside, some high floors as well. I feel good about this roster so far. pretty good. Is the quarterback the first pick? This would be my QB2 with Purdy in round 10. We went Richardson round 5. Why serious? Hey, bud, did miss a month of shit going down. What's the biggest change in ADP player? Something that's recently been a big change would be Chase Brown starting to even out with Zach Moss. Zach Moss goes 97 in this draft. Chase Brown 99. Just a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, you could get Chase Brown falling past pick 130. So Chase Brown is a steady riser in recent camp reports, indicating he's running with the ones a lot. Not good for me. I'm heavily invested in Zach Moss. I've been opposed to Chase Brown. I called my shot. I might be wrong, but maybe that's an overreaction to the training camp news. Other than that, QBs are all kind of the same. There's no one that's like massively moving up the board, but I feel like Pacheco is a big riser. He's moving up like half a full round in just the last like few days. Those are the two I think that pop out the most to me overall. But I'm interested in Charbonnet, but for the sake of depth and floor, I think Dowdle has a bit more volume guaranteed this year. And they both have equally high upside. If Zeke goes down, then Dowdle would be a top 15 running back most likely. And I think while Kenneth Walker probably has more value, if Charbonnet, if Walker goes down, Charbonnet is probably top 12, probably higher upside than Dowdle. I think there's probably less weekly usage from Charbonnet on average if Walker stays healthy. Whereas Dowdle, I think, could possibly be better than Zeke. I've been starting to take a lot of Rico Dowdle in the 12th round lately. But you're welcome, pal. There's probably a few others. Jalen Polk has been a steady riser as well. This draft, he goes pick 123. A week ago, he was going around the 11-12 turn, starting to move up even higher. But those are the biggest risers, I would say. Anybody else? Oh, Addison has fallen dramatically. Jameson Williams continues to rise. Other than that, nothing too insane. Nothing that's too insane. I feel like Josh Allen has been falling lately for some reason. Not quite sure why. Maybe just because people don't get him stacked up very often. But we're on the clock here. And while I do have Ayuk, it's tempting to go Pearsall. If I have Purdy, it's tempting to go Pearsall. If Ayuk doesn't get hurt, then Pearsall is a terrible selection. If nothing happens to Ayuk or Debo and Pearsall remains as just a depth piece, like you're not going to get any value out of Pearsall for the most part. I think Pearsall might be a massive bust, but Leggett, or should I say Leggett, as he puts it, falls to us 9 picks. I'm very comfortable with him as my wide receiver 6. And with a 2-4-6-1 build so far, I think it's good to pivot back to receiver. We got some good talent at the top with Jay Jettas, Ayuk, DK, and Amari. Cortland Sutton, also good depth piece, but Leggett is kind of one of the last options in a tier before it really falls off. Like once you hit pick 150, if Mooney is not on the board, if Leggett is not on the board, if you can't get Jahan Dotson at a big value, then you are really just praying for production out of the other guys available. Like Pop Douglas, I don't really want to invest in too much. Like maybe he works out, but he didn't score a single touchdown last year, and the volume will be coming down with the rookies coming in. I definitely prefer Polk. And there's some good news about Javon Baker lately. I think Baker might be more valuable, more interesting than Douglas, honestly. So Pop Douglas kind of scares me. Jermaine Burton exited practice yesterday, but he's kind of interesting. I'd rather go Burton than Pearsall, honestly. But you never know. He could not beat out Andre Yoshivas, and Yoshivas goes undrafted, so you can always take him if you'd prefer. Meanwhile, Quentin Johnston, terrible news around Quentin Johnston. Thielen is 34 this year. Not excited about Thielen. Fell off a cliff last year with Deontay and Leggett coming in. That's a very risky proposition. So much rather have Leggett than have to settle on a guy like Thielen or worse. But I was interested in J.K. Dobbins. There's some good camp reports on J.K. Dobbins. He goes at pick 154. We do not get J.K. Dobbins. That's okay. But I have DK Metcalf. I might go Noah Fant. Kimani Vidal not getting first team work. Scary pick. And I could kind of talk myself into Jermaine Burton. Like I mentioned, I'd rather have him than Pearsall. But I think if I take Fant, I'm going to be comfortable with just 2 tight ends. And I think I can still get some decent receivers later. So I'm going to go Noah Fant, another investment in Seattle, who should have a very high-flying passing offense this year. And with other guys like Will Dissly, Colby Parkinson leaving Seattle, along with Noah Fant's contract, I do expect a slight breakout incoming for Fant this season. I think he will be more involved. Last year, I don't think he scored a single touchdown. Pretty sure that was the case. And most likely he is in line for some positive regression in that category. Yeah, last year he had 0 touchdowns. 0 touchdowns for Fant. Before that, he was giving you at least 3 or 4. And I would expect that number to go up. I expect closer to 600 yards next season for Fant, rather than the 414 he got last year. But it is kind of just an assumption. He has been on downward trends the last few years, but they gave him a contract for a reason, and they let go of some other options. I think Fant will be more involved this upcoming season. But there is some news about Geno Smith, who did have some imaging done with some recent camp injuries, but they came back positive today. Looks like he's not going to miss any time, and you can still keep drafting Geno. In this territory, I think he's a good value. And if I didn't already have 2 good quarterbacks, I'd probably consider Geno, to be honest with you. I think he is a good value here as QB 23 in round 15. He's actually falling a little bit, 6 picks to us. But while I do have a stack that kind of lines up, I'm not going to take him. I was kind of interested in Demarcus Robinson, but get sniped on Demarcus. I'm going to go with Elijah Mitchell, another investment in the San Francisco backfield. And we have a big San Francisco stack here. If Christian McCaffrey does go down, not only are there going to be a ton more volume for Ayuk and Kittle in the passing game, but Elijah Mitchell will be a league winner, assuming he maintains that job. There are some reports that Jordan Mason could be challenging him for the RB2, and perhaps he gets traded if they feel confident in the depth. But with the injury to Isaac Guerendo, I think Elijah Mitchell is still the guy. Anyone in San Francisco's backfield could be a league winner if opportunity knocks. It's just a question of, will CMC go down? If Christian McCaffrey doesn't miss any time, then we might get like a random garbage time touchdown for Mitchell, but otherwise he'll probably never scratch our lineup at all. It's purely a swing for the fence. If it works out, definitely worth the value, but more likely than not, betting on some of these handcuff running backs this late will not work out. It's not a guarantee at all. But Roschon Johnson looked to get a bit more usage than Khalil Herbert in the Hall of Fame game. He had the first reps with the ones yesterday on the field. I don't know how much that really means. Like, it's clearly DeAndre Swift's job. It's really early in the preseason. I mean, Hall of Fame game reps are not anywhere close to regular season reps. But I do think Roschon might be above Khalil Herbert on the depth chart. So that's something to keep in mind. Someone to target if you need running back later. But I think we're going to go with wide receiver. I think I'm going to call it done at tight end with Kittle and Fant. I'm definitely done at QB. I've got 5 running backs, 6 receivers. I think I want a 7th. And I would definitely consider DJ Chark if available. DJ Chark is running with the ones ahead of Quentin Johnston. So I am not going to take Quentin Johnston here, despite him falling 26 picks. I'd rather have DJ Chark. We could go Thielen as a hedge for Leggett, but I'd rather just bet on Leggett working out, not double him up with Thielen. Franklin, he plays with Knicks. It could work out, but like, I don't feel great about it. I'm going to go with DJ Chark. The X receiver in the Chargers offense. I think Herbert's going to be fine. And Quentin Johnston gets taken one spot above him. I feel like this is appropriate. I feel like QJ and DJ Chark should be going like back to back. And honestly, I'd rather have Chark straight up. So that's who we take. I was interested in Tyler Boyd, honestly. I probably would have loved Tyler Boyd at 198 with the recent DeAndre Hopkins injury. But Boyd gets taken 188. We get technically sniped on him. So that's not going to be our pick moving forward. I almost never take Troy Franklin or Roman Wilson, but if Troy Franklin falls back around to me, I think here is the range I would consider it. Pick 200 overall. Technically, it's 198 is where I'm going to be picking, but Franklin has been falling. We already have a Broncos receiver in Cortland Sutton. I think Marvin Mims is definitely a better investment than Troy Franklin, but who knows? Maybe Franklin fell too late in the draft this year. Maybe he has a chip on his shoulder. The fact that he has the chemistry with Bo Nix, I think, is a legitimate factor to consider him. But I only take him if he falls to me like he's about to 18 spots. And honestly, I'm kind of even like considering passing on him for just like a Roschon pick here. But all of these late round running backs are ugly. I'll go Roschon. Let's gamble that Franklin comes back even further back around. And even if I get sniped on him, I'm not going to be upset about it. So I'm just not a big investor in Franklin at all this year. And even though it was tempting at a big value, I think his ADP will probably settle around here at the end of the day. And he goes 199. I'm fine with it. I think given how I built this roster, it's a little more important. I grab an RB over a receiver. We're stacked at receiver. Top 4 are really good. And I even like the depth. Sutton, Leggett, DJ Chark, I think are very good depth pieces, but the 4 I have at the top are phenomenal. It's less likely that this wide receiver this late sniffs our lineup than a guy like Roschon, given our RB1 and 2 are Najee and Jaylen Warren. So we're going to make one more pick here. I think it's going to be a wide receiver, and I'll probably opt for maybe a Javon Baker, maybe an Andre Yoshivas. Yoshivas has been kind of moving up, and 7 days ago there was a report he's the early favorite for number 3. That's very interesting. Maybe I go Yoshivas here. I probably am going to take him. If I get sniped, there's not many appealing options. We could go Juwan Jennings, given the Niners stack, but that's not too appealing. Are there any running backs? Not really. I'm not excited. We've got 6 RBs, 7 receivers. I will go receiver, and I'd prefer Yoshivas. But after that, I'm going to be getting into a second draft on the live stream. So just one more pick away, and we'll hop into another draft. Wow, this team only has 1 QB, 1 tight end, and their QB is Jaden Daniels. Their tight end is Kelsey. Okay, with Kelsey, I think it's justified, but if they're not going with QB or tight end here, I think it should be QB. Dan Graham taking a massive gamble. Goes Juwan Johnson. Wow. I would feel very risky to finish a draft with my only QB being Jaden Daniels. That is a bold call. Someone that can definitely get hurt this year. But that's it for this draft. That's round 18. So we're going to hop into another one. If you want to join me, we will be doing another Dachshund draft, $8 entry. And I am on a 5-second delay. So if you do want to draft with me, hit that button right now. And I will hop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. 3 spots left. If you want to join me, there's now 2 spots left. We'll be drafting very shortly. Very soon. But I felt pretty good about that roster, honestly. Felt decent about it. Let's take a look back at it real quick. Wait, which pick do I have? I have pick 8. I have pick 8. I'm comfortable with pick 8. But most likely a Breece Hall team. Anyways, what happened there? Okay, that draft is done. It was the Dachshund. And here's the team. A. Richardson, Brock Purdy at QB. Running back Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, Jerome Ford, Rico Dowdle, Elijah Mitchell, Roschon Johnson. Decent running back room. If Ford and Dowdle hit, I am in good shape. But if they don't, I'm going to be really relying on an Elijah Mitchell situation. But I do feel confident in Ford and Dowdle keeping me competitive. So running back is pretty solid. Wide receiver is very good. Jefferson, Ayuk, DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, Cortland Sutton, Xavier Legette, DJ Chark, and Andre Yoshivas. Dark horse to have a lot of value if he is indeed the Tyler Boyd replacement. And then George Kittle, Noah Fant at tight end. Very competitive team. I'm very happy with that draft. I like how it worked out. But now we're focusing on this one, and we are going to be on the clock pretty soon. We have pick 8. And so far, Amon-Ra goes pick 4. That's interesting. But we might get Jefferson falling back to us at pick 8. Maybe a second straight team with Jefferson. No, that is not what happens. We will take Breece Hall. Give me Mr. Breece. Very comfortable with Breece Hall. He's my RB2 this season. And if CMC does get hurt, I think Breece Hall is in line to be the best fantasy running back next season. Even if Christian McCaffrey doesn't get hurt, I think Breece Hall could be the RB1 on the year. It could happen for him. Big fan of Breece Hall, personally. And Angus, appreciate you, man. Hell yeah, indeed. We surpassed 3K earlier this week. Thank you to everyone who's subscribed, everyone who's helped me get here. And we are on the road to 5K. I am hoping to hit that by the end of the season. That's my goal for the year. Another 2K subscribers, if not more. Obviously, I'd be thrilled if it was more. But, oh, wow. This is really interesting. Normally, I would just take Ayuk here, but let's gamble. Let's go with Jonathan Taylor. Let's do a double RB build for the first time in a while. I feel like I've done one other of these on the channel, maybe like 2 weeks ago. I went with double running back, and I do think you can make it work. So I've got my RB2, I've got my RB5 this season, and it could come back to haunt me. We could get sniped on like every receiver moving forward, but as long as I hammer the position moving forward, I think I can still get some good options. Let's see what happens. Maybe if I really want to push it, we can go with like a hyper fragile 4 RB build with like 10 receivers. That would be very interesting. Let's see how this works out. Normally don't do it, but let's go Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor at picks 8 and 17. Let's see what happens. But Angus says, feels like one of Amon-Ra, Laporta, or Gibbs will bust since they go so high. Love the talent of all three, but there is only one ball, and if they don't bust, then Goff is way undervalued. I 100% agree. Goff is super valuable. I think Goff is going to be phenomenal, especially with 13 dome games this season. Definitely going to work out. Also pointing out that Monty is there and JMO. But here's the thing, man. Here's where I'm going to push back on you real gently, if you bear with me. They spread the ball around so much in that offense. All four of those guys, Jahmyr Gibbs, Dave Montgomery, Sam Laporta, and Amon-Ra St. Brown all scored at least 10 to 13 touchdowns last season. I think that's going to repeat. I think Ben Johnson's one of the better offensive play callers, and this offense is projected to be top 3 once again. I trust Goff 100%. I think Goff is the one that's undervalued, not so much so that there is a bust candidate of the 3, St. Brown, Gibbs, and Laporta. I think while I do think Laporta is probably could be going later and it would be a little more justified, I think there is some potential bust potential there. Potential bust potential. That's definitely a potential. Potentially going to happen. Shit. Give me Tank Dell, my highest ranked receiver. Let's do it, but always keeping it gentle on the pushback. You know, but I just think the touchdown production is so locked in. That offense is going to be phenomenal. They have the best offensive line in the league according to PFF, and they're just going to score 30 points every week like clockwork. So I still trust him. I think it would be... It's possible that one of them busts, but I think it's only going to happen if they get injured. That's my take. St. Brown is just so safe. He had 14 points in all but one game last season in half PPR, just such a high floor. And Gibbs is locked into more of a goal line role with a lot of targets available. I trust Gibbs at the 1-2 turn. What do we do here? Tempting to go with Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts, but we need receiver badly, and I have T. Higgins in a tier that I cannot replicate moving forward. So we take T. Higgins, my wide receiver 26 this season, and I do not see a world where passing on him would be justified after going RB. I completely agree, Angus. Definitely T. Higgins for sure. There it is. Yeah, I just trust the touchdown production in Detroit. I think they will all work out. Because they got rid of Josh Reynolds, there's now, with him and Marvin Jones, there's a combined 75 targets available in this offense. That all of them could go to Jameson Williams. It's possible that happens, but I think some of them will go to Laporta. Some of them will go to St. Brown, maybe like 5 or 10. And Jameson Williams will get closer to about 90 targets next season. But my thoughts on Diggs, if he is washed or not, I don't think he's washed. I just really worry about the target competition in that offense. The fact that he's the oldest of the 3, he doesn't have chemistry like the other 2 have last year with CJ Stroud, the fact that it's a 1-year contract, and the fact that he can often be a big headache. I think they could grow tired of him and start to phase him out of the offense as the weeks go on. There's obviously going to be some spike weeks. I think it's fine to draft him in the 3rd round where he's going, but the reason I do not take him is because I prefer Tank Dell in Houston, and I think he will be the most likely bust candidate of the 3 Texans. Maybe it's Nico Collins just because his ADP is a full round and a half higher. Like, you got to take Collins at top 20. Like, Collins never falls past pick 20. In this draft, he goes pick 14. That could burn you on Nico, but I'm going to bet that Nico, after getting paid, barring an injury, does work out. And I think as long as Tank Dell stays healthy, I think he works out as well. My bet to not pay off of the 3 would be Diggs. So he's fine, but I don't love him. And now we're on the clock once again And I don't take him that often, but he falls to me 6 picks. I need a receiver. I'm going to go Terry McLaurin. Not a player I'm heavily invested in at all, but I think the price is more justified here after Rashee Rice, Jaden Reed, Calvin Ridley go off the board. I do have Chris Godwin ranked one spot above him, but Godwin is more in line as the number 2 option. There is a world where that doesn't work out. Terry should be the number 1. And he gets a big quarterback upgrade. At pick 56 with an ADP of 50, I'm fine with Terry here. But normally, I do not take a lot of Terry McLaurin. So kind of just increasing my exposure a little bit. Needing receiver desperately. I think it's justified. But Keenan was elite last year. He was. I am just worried that at his age, he gets hurt. He's missed 11 games in the last 2 seasons. And I am a massive fan of Rome Odunze. I'm willing to be wrong about that. He's going to be behind DJ Moore. That's for sure. DJ Moore just got a big contract extension. I prefer DJ Moore and Rome Odunze over Keenan Allen. But I'll get to your other comment in just a sec. We're about to be on the clock, Angus. But I do see it. I would love if Chris Godwin fell to me here at 65. Oh, hell yes. With 2 running backs already, I'm happy to get sniped at RB and give me the combo of Terry McLaurin and Chris Godwin, both 6 picks past ADP. Not going to be a lot of teams with that double up. Unless you take Terry and Godwin at the 4-5 turn, you are not getting both of them on the same roster most of the time. So it's not looking too bad. We pass on receiver in both rounds 1 and 2. We go with 4 straight guys at that position with these last 4 rounds. Tank Dell, T. Higgins, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin. I feel okay about our receiver core. I think we still need to prioritize it moving forward, given the fact we skipped out on any of the top 25 guys. But considering that fact, considering who I have, I feel competitive enough so far with this squad of receivers. Not bad, but what were you saying, Angus? For me, I think he's on his best behavior this year, knowing this is his last chance for a big contract. He has such a history of earning volume, even last year. That is a good point. He is in a contract season, and usually it's kind of a slow burn in terms of how long it takes Diggs to piss people off. Like even in Minnesota, they were raving about him when I remember Sam Bradford was the quarterback. Bradford was in love with Diggs. He just had injuries early on in Minnesota. And then when he did get traded to the Bills, he was phenomenal. He put up like 1,500 yards his first year with Josh Allen. So maybe I'm underestimating him a little bit, but he is the oldest of the 3, and I'm just calling my shot. I bet on him the least, but I could definitely be wrong. I think I'm going to be updating my rankings and moving up Diggs a little bit and moving down Nico Collins a little bit, but I still have him as the 3rd guy in that rotation. But it's a little bit tricky here. If the injury didn't just happen to Hopkins, I probably would take Hopkins here, but I'm going to go Jake Ferguson. Give me Jake Ferguson. A tight end I'm really confident in. If you watched my tight end rankings video I put out last night, I think Jake Ferguson is in the same tier as Evan Ingram, George Kittle. I think he's locked into top 8 production this year. He is my number 8 tight end. He's going off the board as number 9, and I'd rather have Ferguson than Kyle Pitts. You can get him 2 full rounds later, and I think I can still get a receiver in the same tier coming back around. I think I can still get like Curtis Samuel, or at worst, I would have to reach on Sutton or Palmer. I would be fine with that if I had to. I could also go Joe Burrow, given we have T. Higgins on this roster. Would be comfortable with Burrow if I need to take him. But does the Jamar Chase team have a quarterback? They do not. So if I want Burrow, I should probably have to take him now. Wow, Tyler Lockett, 86. Bit of a reach on Lockett. I see Lockett fall to 107, 110. A decent amount. So to take him early like that, bold decision. But I'm going to go Curtis Samuel here. We need receiver. And now I feel very solid with my group of 5. in Buffalo, reuniting with Joe Brady. I think Curtis Samuel could put up 1,000 scrimmage yards this season, like he has in the past, in his best year in Carolina with Joe Brady as well, back when those two were employed by the Panthers. So let's see how it works out. Maybe Ferguson could have fell back around to me, but I was not interested in a running back there. Given I have Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor, I'm kind of moving off of running back for a while. I'll grab 2 more quarterbacks before I grab 2 more running backs, most likely. But let's gamble that Burrow can come back around. I've seen Burrow go past pick 100 plenty of times. But a beautiful thing about that Jake Ferguson pick is it also opens up a Dak Prescott combo as well. And that CeeDee Lamb team already has Lamar. It's just a question of will the team at 5 go with Joe Burrow after taking Jordan Love? If that doesn't happen, I think I can get Burrow with my next pick. I was also interested in Jaden Daniels, honestly. I have Terry McLaurin, so the stack with Jaden Daniels is interesting, but Team 7 without a QB could snipe me for sure. That may happen. We'll see. Burrow goes to that team at 5. They do double up at QB, so it does not work out. Worth the risk. That's okay. Yikes, this is not the prettiest situation here. But yeah, I'll take Zach Moss. I'm not ready to write him off yet. A couple weeks ago, I was a firm believer in Zach Moss. The camp reports have not been amazing, given the fact that Chase Brown is practicing with the ones a lot, but they paid him for a reason. He, I think, is still kind of profiling as the goal line back. If I had to pick one of the two, I could see more goal line touches for Moss, most likely. He has the most experience of the two. They did draft Chase Brown, though, probably with plans to move off of Mixon. And he is more of a pass catcher, Chase Brown, that is. So a little bit worried. But to get him 8 spots past ADP, I think at worst it's like a 50-50 split. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this really does come back to haunt me. But I'm not quite ready to completely pivot off of Zach Moss just yet. If you told me that next week Zach Moss got most of the first team reps in practice, I wouldn't be shocked at all. I'm going to stick with my gut for a little bit longer and say that Zach Moss is still very valuable in the Bengals offense. You could also just get an injury to Chase Brown and it's all irrelevant what the rotation is. You could get Zach Moss being the guy for the majority of the year if Brown suffers injury. So let's hope for the best. I could be wrong here, but with an ADP consistently falling, I take him at 104, and I am okay with it. But now with 3 running backs, I can definitely ignore that position for a while. Nah, I'm going to take Purdy. We don't have him stacked up. It's not ideal. I definitely prefer to have like the team I just drafted with Purdy double stacked with Ayuk and Kittle. That's definitely a better way to go about it. But the fact that Jared Goff has already been taken at 111, I feel like the safety net at QB has gone away, and it's unlikely that I get a caliber quarterback coming back around at 128 like I can get here with Purdy. So if we miss out on Trevor Lawrence at 128, I'm going to feel very regretful passing on Brock Purdy. And obviously I'd rather have him stacked up, but he's okay. It's kind of like Jordan Love, where even if you don't have a stack, it's not the end of the world. There's just so many weapons that all catch passes. There's going to be a ton of volume, ton of scoring in the Niners offense. Like, I'd rather get 25, 30 points from a quarterback that's unstacked than barely get like 18 points with a stacked quarterback. And honestly, all the quarterbacks I have on my team, other than Baker Mayfield, have already been taken. So I was looking at an unstacked QB regardless for this build. So not ideal. It is what it is. I have no regrets, though. No regrets at all. Tua goes. Trevor Lawrence is on the board. Not many stacking options for him either. I think I'm going to pass. I think I'm going to go with my second tight end. I'm going to take Pat Freiermuth. Because now this could be a 3 QB build. Given Purdy's my first and I've waited for a while. And if I take 3 QBs, I don't want to take more than 2 tight ends. So the combination of Ferguson and Freiermuth makes me feel really competitive at the position. These are 2 of my favorite tight ends to draft across the board. Freiermuth is my most drafted tight end. And if Ferguson was going as late as he is, he would be well more invested on my squads. But I have like Ferguson as like my tight end 3 or 4 in terms of exposure this season. I love to pair up Ferguson and Freiermuth this season. They're 2 really good options at tight end. Ton of volume going to both of them with very few other weapons in their respective offenses. So we're done at tight end now. We need a few more receivers. We'll probably take 9 by the time this draft is over. I need 2 more running backs. And I might take 2 more QBs. That would be a 3-5-9-2. I think that math does not add up. It might be a 3-5-8-2 build. Unless we get a really good QB2. But Herbert goes, Cousins goes. That's not going to happen. Yeah, this is a 3 quarterback build for this team. Could just go Jahan Dotson, but I already have Terry. I'm going to go Darnell Mooney. Give me Mooney. Some consistency with him in terms of ADP. I expected him to be a riser, honestly. I felt like people would wake up to him just because he's got a great quarterback and there's not many other weapons in that offense. Like, other than London and Pitts, it's just Bijan for targets. And Cousins is a good quarterback. He can definitely make multiple players viable. I mean, last year he had not just Jefferson, but TJ Hawkinson and Jordan Addison at a very high clip in terms of how they contributed. And everybody else that you're taking, even Mooney to a certain extent, is a massive gamble. Like, Gabe Davis is a huge boom-bust guy. He can give you 0 points. He can give you 20 points. Josh Downs has to compete with A.D. Mitchell. Kind of concerned there. Mike Williams is on the PUP list at the moment. And Mooney got paid $13 million per season. I believe it's a 3-year contract. What is Mooney's deal? Let's be accurate. He got 3 years, $39 million, $26 million guaranteed. He is locked into the wide receiver 2 role in Atlanta. Atlanta also has like a phenomenal playoff schedule. Atlanta's looking like a potential league winner in the fantasy playoffs. Like, their schedule is cake at the end of the season. After the Week 12 bye, they get the Chargers at home, the Vikings on the road, then the Raiders on the road, the Giants in Week 16, and the Commanders' terrible secondary in Week 17. So we get some correlation with pairing up Mooney and McLaurin on the same team. And to your point, Angus, Rondale Moore is not having a good camp at all. They traded for him, but I really don't see a big role for him. Honestly, I think Mooney's going to be on the field like 85%+ of the snaps next year. I think Mooney's a great value here. So he should be rising. He's not falling, but we could get Jahan Dotson coming back around. It's possible I get both of them. I'd be comfortable with Dotson here. He gets sniped. That's okay. Um, Given our quarterback situation, I'm going to take Stafford here. Highest ADP, we do not need tight end because we already have two. And I can always pair up Stafford with a Demarcus Robinson in the next round. And like I told you a little earlier, it was more likely I would take two quarterbacks before I took two running backs on this team. So we have Purdy and Stafford, both unstacked at the moment, but I think I'm in line for either a J.K. Dobbins pick here or a Demarcus Robinson pick. One of the two. I still feel really good about my running backs, so Dobbins gets sniped. This is the type of build I like to gamble on Dobbins with, for sure. Because when I have Brees and Taylor, I'm not counting on him like crazy. But I'm going to go Demarcus Robinson, just shore up receiver. We did pass on that early on. We need some depth. So this is the team so far. We go Brees Hall, Jonathan Taylor, first two rounds. Then we hammer receiver for 4 straight picks with Tank Dell, T. Higgins, Terry McLaurin, and Chris Godwin. Good value on Terry and Godwin. Follow that up with Jake Ferguson, Curtis Samuel, Zach Moss, hoping for the best there. But then Brock Purdy, Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Mooney, Matthew Stafford, Demarcus Robinson. So far, I have 2 QBs, 2 tight ends, 3 running backs, 7 receivers, and there are 4 more picks. I need 2 more running backs, and maybe I can get away with just these 2 quarterbacks. Stafford is one of the last guys I'm comfortable with as my backup. If Baker was my QB2, I'd probably want a third. But with Stafford, I feel more confident that maybe I can get away with ignoring quarterback the rest of the way. Barring a massive value on Baker, that's probably what I do here. But Wan'Dale is someone that's been having a good camp. Wan'Dale Robinson has been getting some buzz lately. McMillan goes off the board. I would have considered McMillan, honestly. But I also think Marvin Mims is interesting. What's the news blurb on Mims? Catches eye of coach. Mims is, quote, doing well in training camp. Not great last year, but with no Judy, definitely in line for an uptick in production. And we'll see what happens here. But gets sniped on Wan'Dale. That's all right. I'm going to go Marvin Mims. Let's take Marvin Mims. Let's do it. Maybe Sutton sucks this season. Maybe Mims steps up. I do think Bo Nix is better than what he gets credit for. So let's go with Mims. I'd much rather have Mims than Troy Franklin by a pretty big margin. And interesting, this draft, Troy Franklin goes 177, a little bit above ADP. Meanwhile, we just saw him fall to pick 199 earlier in the video. So some rooms are very high on Mims, some are not. But good buzz surrounding Audric Estime. I would definitely consider Estime here. I worry about Kendre Miller. We took Elijah Mitchell in the last draft, so probably won't go with Elijah Mitchell. Wow, Noah Fant is falling here. Noah Fant currently 20 picks past ADP. Kind of makes me wish I didn't have 2 good tight ends. I would definitely consider him, but I don't think it works for this build. I think it would be unwise to take a 3rd tight end, despite the ADP value, when I need 2 more running backs left and only 3 picks total. Barring a snipe, I'm going to go Estime. Let's do it. Let's go Estime. Bet against Javonte, and Estime profiles as if he does have a role, it's going to be on the goal line. And Don't know if you can hear that, but my cat is right here with me. Here she is. She wants some attention. She wants some screen time. Hello. How you doing? But Estime's a beast. 5'11", 221. Slow as fuck. Runs a 4.71, but on the goal line, who the fuck cares? Speed is not that critical when you're on the 2-yard line and you just need to punch it in. Size is what is most important. He's got it. But Angus is asking Luke McCaffrey odds of taking backup job from Mariota. I think you mean Dotson. Luke McCaffrey is a receiver. Mariota is a QB. I think there is a world where he overtakes Dotson, because Dotson could look as bad as last year. He was overtaken by Curtis Samuel. And McCaffrey kind of shined at the combine, comes from a family of NFL pros, definitely very athletic. But very, very slim odds he takes over as the backup quarterback over Mariota. Meow. Hey, you want to say hello? Oh, now the mic is in your face and you're quiet, of course. That's all it takes. Okay, we need one more running back. We also need one more. I think the last pick could actually go in any direction. But let's just shore up RB here. I'm going to take Will Shipley. Actually, maybe I go Tank Bigsby. Oh, no. Never mind. I'm going to go Tyler Boyd. With the injury to DeAndre Hopkins, I'm going to go Tyler Boyd. Yeah, we're going to take receiver. Boyd, good value. Maybe Hopkins only misses one game. Maybe it has no effect on him during the season, but with a knee injury at the age of 32 and Boyd's familiarity in the Callahan offense dating back to those Bengals games, I think Boyd is a high floor pick compared to anybody else you're going to take here. I'm not telling you Boyd is like locked in to be a top 50 receiver next season. That is not the bet I'm making here with this Boyd selection. But I think of all the players you're getting here, I think Boyd is one of the least likely guys to give you 0 points next season. I think he will score a few touchdowns. We'll probably get like maybe 5 targets a game. And if Hopkins goes down, he could increase that to like 8 targets per game. Definitely possible. So I like Boyd at this point. Especially feel more confident in him with an injury to DeAndre Hopkins. But I'm going to call it done at QB with Purdy and Stafford. I feel very competitive despite waiting a long time at that position. Stafford is the only one stacked up with Demarcus Robinson, but rather have 2 good guys than 2 bad guys stacked up. And we didn't have much options. But at running back here, it's a dice roll between Shipley and Tank Bigsby, and I take Shipley a little bit more. I'm going to go Tank Bigsby. Let's gamble on Bigsby. We don't need a lot of contributions at running back, given we have Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor. But if ETN goes down, Bigsby will have a lot of touches going his way. He might be a big bust like he was last year, but round 18, let's say fuck it, let's go Bigsby. So that's the squad. Going round by round, I go Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor at pick 8, followed by Tank Dell, T. Higgins, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, Jake Ferguson, Curtis Samuel, Zach Moss, Brock Purdy, Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Mooney, Matthew Stafford, Demarcus Robinson, Marvin Mims, Audric Estimate, Tyler Boyd, and Tank Bigsby. Thank you, everyone who watched this live stream, everyone that's stuck around, everyone who's liked the video, anyone who is subscribed to the channel. If you have not done so already, go ahead and do that. Check out my rankings videos posted on the channel. And yeah, it's going to be fun. I might do another live stream over the weekend, but if not, I'll see you guys on Monday with another draft. And until then, hope you guys have a good weekend and take it easy. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.